Elon Musk says he's moving SpaceX and social media platform X to Texas from California. That's coming up today on Business Matters. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for being here with me. I'm your host, Don Ma. So some heat taken out of the stock market rally today, it seems like. The Nasdaq posting its worst day since 2022, down over 500 points to close below 18,000. And the S&P 500 down about 1.4%, but the Dow Jones here bucking the trend and finishing up 0.6% at the close. So lots of important news on chip stocks today. We'll talk about them coming up. Also, Nike perhaps is falling behind as Adidas speeds up in the sportswear competition. So shares for Adidas jumped to its highest in over 2 years, and this came after the German sportswear company beat second quarter expectations and bumped up its full year guidance. Now the company is riding the popularity of its terrace sneakers and the reduced demand for competitors, for example, like Nike. And Adidas is anticipating its momentum to continue throughout the second half of the year and into the next year. Meanwhile, SpaceX, as I mentioned at the beginning, will be taking off from California, not returning as well. Founder Elon Musk will be moving his headquarters for the aerospace company and his social media platform company X to Texas. Musk said his announcement was spurred by a new California law, which he called the last straw. So the law forbids school districts from requiring teachers to notify parents when a child changes their gender identity or sexual orientation. Musk already moved Tesla to Texas in 2021, and that same year he changed his residence to the Lone Star State. Musk said SpaceX's main office would move to an existing facility in Boca Chica and X would move to Austin, though it's unclear which jobs or facilities in California will be transferred over. And earlier I discussed this topic in more detail with John Boyd. He's a site selection expert with the Boyd Company. Take a look. John, thank you for your time today. So I just wanted to talk to you about Elon Musk apparently saying that he's moving SpaceX and X to Texas from California. I mean, it sounds like a huge undertaking to me. Can you just, first of all, paint us a picture of what the process looks like and what that entails?
Certainly. This move of both SpaceX and X's headquarters means thousands of high-paying jobs leaving California to Texas. There'll be new facilities. A specific site has not yet been selected for the Austin headquarters. There's an inventory of very attractive options for Elon Musk to select from. You have the reported acquisition of a plot of land near Brownsville that's likely to be the site of the new SpaceX headquarters. In recent years, Elon Musk really has made Texas his home, as well as his center of gravity for a number of his businesses. Obviously, Tesla, headquartered in Austin, SpaceX with massive operations in Cameron County, and now the official headquarter relocation of both SpaceX and X. Both companies expected to maintain a presence in California, but clearly this new Texas headquarters will be the new headquarters of the company, the face of the company, and be an easier place to really attract and retain a workforce versus the Bay Area and versus Hawthorne, California for SpaceX.
So in terms of actually physically selecting a site, what do you think Musk needs to think about?
Well, you want to be in a office that is not just Class A, but Class A+. Musk really prioritizes return to office. Being in Texas is a much easier sell to employees to get back in the office every day. So I expect these to be brand new offices equipped with the types of amenities that X employees and SpaceX employees want. And that's another priority here in terms of getting workers back in the office Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. That's something Musk has been very vocal about. This rebrand and this relocation to Texas will allow that to happen. You know, California has a lot of challenges with respect to taxes and regulations. But overall lifestyle business unfriendliness. Musk has been very vocal about the incessant homelessness problem and, of course, the crime issue around their Market Street headquarters in San Francisco. And look, Musk is not abandoning California. California is the 5th largest economy in the world. It's critical to the aerospace and the telecommunications and the cybersecurity and the tech industry. Okay, he's not abandoning those markets. Both SpaceX and X will keep a workforce in California. But in terms of, again, the fundamental rebrand of these companies, and Texas is all about connectivity. Okay, you think about Texas really enjoying unique linkages to the global marketplace and the space industry. Texas really is a leader in the space industry. The SpaceX relocation really puts an exclamation point on that.
Do you expect this to be an expensive endeavor?
There'll be significant business cost advantages with these headquarters being in Texas versus California. There'll be significant HR advantages with respect to recruiting and retaining a workforce in Texas versus the hyperinflated cost structures that exist in the Bay Area and in Hawthorne, California. Okay, so there's business cost savings, business climate advantages, and HR advantages associated with this move. And any upfront costs with respect to the relocation will be minuscule with respect to the business cost and the tax savings over the long term.
Well, all right, John, thank you very much for your time today. Meanwhile, 2 U.S. senators are calling on AT&T for answers in a massive hack on consumer call data. Now, in April, the breach resulted in the illegal downloading of about 109 million customer accounts. So the company says months of call and text logs from 2022 were copied from nearly all its customers off the Snowflake software. In a letter yesterday to AT&T, Senators Richard Blumenthal and Josh Hawley said they're concerned that the sensitive data will be auctioned off to criminals or foreign intelligence agencies. AT&T said that it would respond directly to the 2 lawmakers. In a separate letter, senators also raised concerns about other recent data breaches with Snowflake clients. And dozens of bridges across the U.S. will be renovated or replaced as part of a massive infrastructure law. President Biden's administration announced $5 billion in federal grants across 16 states. The biggest chunk is going to replace 2 bridges that connect Portland, Oregon and Vancouver, Washington. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg said the bridges in need impact the entire economy. Here's what he said.
I want to rewind just a little bit to what it was like when we took office, as we marked the worsening condition of America's bridges, the number of bridges listed in poor condition around the United States. And this state was an example. Despite real progress that had been made, this need had built up over decades, and people here saw the consequences of what happened when that underinvestment took place. As I mentioned earlier, visiting Pittsburgh in one of my first trips, I remember seeing the netting installed under the McKees Rocks Bridge in Pittsburgh to catch the pieces of concrete that would fall off of it from time to time. And that was something that was just tolerated in this country for far too long.
Now, he also noted that the investments are to ensure safety and to maintain a smooth supply chain. The federal government estimates more than 42,000 bridges nationwide are in poor condition. A transportation association estimates that more than $300 billion is needed to repair those bridges. And a recent study says that over 1/3 of working Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, spending everything they make with nothing left over, especially in rural America. Here's more on this story.
Over 1/3 of workers say they live paycheck to paycheck, according to a new Bankrate study.
People who feel this way would describe themselves as the working poor. They're struggling to save for the future after having little to no money left over when covering their everyday expenses.
The study's author, Sarah Foster, says these Americans do everything right. They're saving, they're budgeting, they even work overtime. But inflation makes it hard to save. Divorced workers are most likely to live paycheck to paycheck, according to the study, at 49%, followed by single workers at 35%. Workers in Generation X are most likely to live paycheck to paycheck, people who are around 40 to 60 years old. And the problem is especially big in rural communities, such as in the South and Midwest.
Inflation actually in those regions was higher than inflation in the West and the Northeast. And we also just see that so many Americans who live in those regions are also part of rural America, which doesn't have as diverse of a job industry.
A big problem, lack of resources.
We are still dealing with, a little bit of a lag in broadband access, and childcare can be an issue for young families. Transportation can be an issue.
Bobby Howard is a director at the Center for Rural Affairs, an organization that supports rural Americans. Howard says opportunities are growing, but people are slow to get them. Her key piece of advice? Go to an American Job Center.
A lot of people don't realize that they can access an American Job Center or other resources. So I think we need to do more to educate people on what's available to them.
American Job Centers are one-stop career centers funded by the U.S. Labor Department. They help job seekers find jobs and even provide access to training, apprenticeships, and education. Howard advises people to go to careeronestop.org for more information.
Now, the possibility of tension in Taiwan is impacting markets. So in a recent interview, Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump said that Taiwan should pay the U.S. for defense. He said that because Taiwan does not give the U.S. anything. The comment sent shares for the world's largest contract chipmaker in Taiwan down. TSMC's chips are used in everything from AI applications to smartphones and fighter jets. So analysts believe that any conflict over Taiwan would decimate the world economy. And in response to the comment, Taiwan Premier Cho Tan-tai said Taiwan and the U.S. have good relations despite the lack of formal ties, and that the island is dedicated to bolstering its own defenses. And other chip stocks also fell today after reports that Washington is mulling tighter curbs on semiconductor exports. Here's more on that.
Shares of chipmakers fell Wednesday after President Joe Biden and his Republican rival Donald Trump each made news that sent a chilling effect through the semiconductor industry. Bloomberg reported the Biden administration has told allies it may use its most severe trade curbs on companies that continue to give China access to advanced chip technology. U.S.-listed shares of Dutch equipment provider ASML fell 11% in morning trading, even as the company beat second-quarter profit estimates. Shares of AI heavyweight NVIDIA lost ground, along with fellow chip makers AMD, Qualcomm, Broadcom, Micron Technology, and ARM Holdings. The Biden administration has been aggressive in its efforts to curb China's access to cutting-edge chips, with sweeping restrictions in October that limited exports of AI processors designed by NVIDIA and other U.S. firms.
Also, the shipping industry is seeing the ripple effects from Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. Danish shipping company AP Moller-Maersk is describing a cascade of disruptions along shipping routes. So the company says disruptions have extended beyond trade routes between the Far East and Europe to its entire global network. Maersk said the impact is causing congestion along alternate routes and transshipping hubs. The company said that it's preparing for continued disruptions by adjusting its network and supply strategies. All right, taking a break. Coming up after, many solar factories in the U.S. are lagging, except for those owned by China, potentially putting the country in position to dominate this industry. And the numbers are in for the first day of Amazon's Prime Day. Shoppers spent billions upon billions online and on track to break a record. We'll give you the details after the break. Don't go away. And welcome back. Some China-related stories to start off. So as construction surges for U.S. solar manufacturing plants owned by Chinese companies, a group of American solar manufacturers is calling on tougher rules for made-in-USA tax credits. This puts the Biden administration in a predicament because while it is keen on new investments to create American jobs in clean energy, the White House is also working to reduce over-reliance on China. So within the next year, Chinese companies will have at least 20 gigawatts worth of solar panel production capacity in the US. And that puts China in position to dominate this budding industry as other American factories struggle to compete despite federal subsidies. So Chinese-backed companies have distinct advantages over US companies. Now, this includes heavily subsidized supply chains and low-cost government financing. As well, they can tap into US subsidies for clean energy manufacturing under the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act. So the Solar Energy Manufacturers for America Coalition is calling on the Biden administration to create stricter rules around a 10% American-made tax credit under this act. So as it stands, the group says there are loopholes that undermine the administration's goals of building robust solar supply chains to compete with China. And as well, China's economic slump has spanned a new meme. So online pessimism around jobs, incomes, and opportunity in China is now frequently described using the phrase, the garbage time of history. So this meme seems to have originated from a basketball term in the final minutes of a game when the outcome is clear. And this started as an online discussion of history and has since become a heavily censored topic on whether Chinese workers and investors should just give up. And this comes as China's growth in the past quarter fell short of forecasts. It was dragged down by the property crisis and stalled consumer spending. Meanwhile, a major federal grant for a Taiwanese firm to bring advanced semiconductors manufacturing to the U.S. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
The new grant is part of the Biden administration's efforts to boost the chip supply chain. The planned subsidy would support $4 billion in investments by Global Wafers in Texas and Missouri. Silicon wafers are a crucial component of advanced semiconductors. 5 major companies, including Global Wafers, control more than 80% of the global 300mm manufacturing market. They account for about 90% of silicon wafers produced in East Asia. In 2022, Congress approved the CHIPS and Science Act to boost domestic semiconductor output. The bill allocated more than $50 billion for research and a manufacturing subsidies program. The CHIPS Subsidy Initiative has provided $30 billion so far. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
If you drive a Mercedes, well, I've got good news for you. Soon, you'll be able to charge your Mercedes-Benz EVs at Starbucks locations. The two companies are teaming up to deploy over 100 fast charging stations across the US. Starbucks, along with Interstate 5, will get the 400 kilowatt charging stations first. Interstate 5 is a key coordinator along the West Coast, spanning from Canada to Mexico. Currently, Mercedes' charging network has locations in Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Kentucky as well. It's aiming to have close to half of the states covered in the next 12 to 18 months. And as you already know, Amazon Prime Day is upon us. And the first day pulled in $7.2 billion in US sales. And this is according to Adobe Analytics. And shoppers are projected to spend roughly $14 billion in total over this 2-day deal event. A record high, by the way. Prime Day began a decade ago, and it gives exclusive discounts to Prime members. This year, Amazon gave early access to deals before Prime Day even began, and Adobe said total online sales across all retailers rose 11.7% yesterday. And back-to-school spending also shot up 210% yesterday compared to daily sales this month. Last year, shoppers spent $12.7 billion during Prime Day on Amazon, and the e-commerce giant has been taking away a lot of market share from other retailers. But major ones such as Walmart and Target have recently launched their own deals and shopping events to attract customers. And the famous Mirage Hotel and Casino on the Las Vegas Strip is closing down. The resort is closing after 34 years and will have a farewell ceremony today, capping off a week-long event as it closes its doors for the final time. A 3-year renovation will then take place, and the hotel will reopen in 2027 as Hard Rock Las Vegas. It's going to become a 700-foot tall guitar, much like the Hard Rock Hotel in Seminole, Florida, MGM Resorts bought the Mirage in 2000 and sold it in 2022 for $1 billion to Hard Rock International. And a growing number of vacant office buildings are finding a second life as apartments. The COVID-era work-from-home movement slashed office attendance. Vacancies hit a record 20% in the second quarter of this year, according to Moody's Analytics. But developers seem to have found a solution that's turning those expansive workspaces into inviting homes. Local governments are even offering tax breaks and speedier approval processes to help with the transition. According to a recent report from commercial real estate firm CBRE, nearly 70 million square feet of office space was in the process of being converted for other uses in the first 3 months of 2024. 63% is expected to be turned into multifamily housing. And whether retirement is around the corner or years away, couples may need to consider staggered retirement dates. A survey by Ameriprise found that only 11% of American couples retire at the same time. More than 60% end up retiring more than 1 year apart. There are various advantages to one person staying on a payroll. The additional income can continue to build retirement savings and delay receiving Social Security benefits, and that would mean bigger monthly Social Security checks. Then there's healthcare coverage. Medicare coverage kicks in at 65. But if one person isn't 65 yet, it would make sense to keep working or be on a spouse's coverage, plus scheduling any big procedures like a hip replacement while under private coverage. All right, and with that, all the stories we have for you today. Thank you very much for watching. If you have feedback for the episode, please let me know. You can simply email us at business@ntd.com or leave a comment online. I do read them. And as I always say, business matters. Goodbye.